It's a presentation of Fox Sports.
We are Baltimore. We are Minnesota.
The Twins returned home last night after a tough road trip trying to end a 13-game losing streak, and with Quintana on the mound, just up from Rochester, up and away, 3-run bomb by Byron Buxton. That made it 5-1, and then when the White Sox started creeping closer in the fifth with Quintana still in there, Trevor Plouffe gave the Twins some insurance. Kinsler closed the door late, and finally the Twins had some handshakes and some high fives after that difficult 13-game stretch. They look to start a winning streak as they're back at Target Field for the second of 4 against the Chicago White Sox on another glorious night here in the Twin Cities. Fans filing into Target Field. A divisional series with the Twins and the White Sox continues. Welcome inside the ballpark. Fans all over Minnesota want to see Byron Buxton take the next step. He's a player we've been talking about for years. He's got all that talent. It's been great in the field. It's been a struggle at the plate, but last night he really showed us something. After going down to Rochester and getting 5 home runs in just 20 games, he found his home run power at the big league level, and boy did he battle in that at bat. He had 2 strikes on him early, going against the pitcher with the best ERA in the American League. He crushed it into the second deck. So we went in the clubhouse today, talked to Buxton and one of his teammates about that great moment in last night's game.
Felt really good, especially just to get up there and first at bat back and help the team out in any way I could, and just for me to come up like that, like you said, I was in a hole, and to battle myself to get a good pitch to hit and put some points across the board is amazing.
It's awesome, you know, but I've been playing with him for a couple of years now, and I've seen a lot of that. So all I can say is there's more to come.
Boy, Twins are looking for more from Kyle Gibson. He needs to play his best game tonight. Dick Bramer, Bert Blythen with some of the keys for Kyle tonight.
On Fox Sports North is presented by Menards. Save big money at Menards on all your home improvement needs. and by Sanford Orthopedics and Sports Medicine, for the everyday competitor in all of us. It's another beautiful night for baseball at this beautiful ballpark, Target Field. Game 2 between the Twins and the Chicago White Sox. Carlos Rodon will go for the Chicago White Sox, and Kyle Gibson hoping to forget about a forgettable August and give the Twins a good start here in early September. And it is a gorgeous night for baseball. Dick Bramer, Burt Blyleven with you for Game 2 of this series. And while the Twins as a team would like to forget about August, no one would want to forget about it more than Kyle Gibson.
You know, Kyle Gibson has made 92 starts for the Twins, and we've seen the good and the bad from Kyle Gibson. Actually, we can go back to the month of July. We saw some good Kyle Gibson. 2-1 record in 5 starts. Good earned run average, about 3.5. You know, didn't walk a lot of batters, picked up some strikeouts. And when he does pitch poorly, and really in the month of August, 6 starts, see the high earned run average, a lot of walks, 4.5 walks per 9 innings. That's unacceptable right there for Kyle Gibson, and he knows that. He knows he's got to go out there and be consistent. What are his keys? Well, do what he says. He says he wants to attack with more fastballs. Well, trust his sinker, trust his slider. Keep the pitch count down, especially the first 3 innings, because so many times we see a Kyle Gibson with 60 pitches over 3 innings. He's got to attack early.
And he's had a great history against the Chicago White Sox. The Twins can surely use Kyle Gibson to step up and pitch strong in September, starting tonight in Game 2 with the White Sox. Byron Buxton's 3-run home run, Trevor Plouffe's 2-run home run, instrumental in the Twins ending a 2-week-long losing streak. And yes, they were victorious last night. And Robin Ventura has seen his team hit the skids here, and really, after a really good start, it's been a very difficult season since the middle of May. The Twins actually have marginally a better record than the White Sox, which gives you some idea how miserable the summer has been for Robin Ventura. The Menards batting order for game 2. Adam Eaton leading off. Tyler Saladino, Melky Cabrera, Jose Abreu, Justin Morneau, Todd Frazier, Avisail Garcia, Omar Narvaez, and Carlos Sanchez.
And it'll be 28-year-old Kyle Gibson on the mound. 7 of his 19 starts quality starts. That's what the Twins would like to have tonight. 6 innings, 3 earned runs or less. He's had great numbers against the White Sox over his career. In 8 starts, 5-1 with a 1.80 earned run average.
And now Eaton, Saladino, and Cabrera in the first inning for Chicago. Up and away, ball 1. And we'll keep track of how many first pitch strikes, as we always do, but especially important, as Bert mentioned, for Gibson to get ahead of hitters. And he falls behind 2-0.
Yeah, fastball. Then he tried the fastball, took something off at 88 miles an hour. This is a guy you want to keep off the bases. You want him to earn his way on. No free passes to Eaton. This guy can steal some bases. And he's base hit up the middle.
A single up the middle on a 2-0 pitch, and Eaton takes a big turn and holds up with a single. White Sox got plenty of hits last night, probably plenty of runs, but the Twins were able to use the long ball to beat them. Northland Ford defense for the Twins. Logan Schaefer getting his first start for the Twins in left field, with Buxton in center, Kepler in right, Escobar at third, Polanco at short, Dozier at second, Plouffe at first. No Joe Mauer in the lineup. Kurt Suzuki behind the plate. Twins want to get a look at Schaefer. They know he can play center field. Now they want to take a look at him in the corners. And Saladino spins away from a first pitch fastball in off the plate, 1-0.
Yeah, Tim Anderson, the shortstop, usually the shortstop, ended up hurting his calf. He got hit by a line drive off the bat of Melky Cabrera in the first inning, and unable to play here tonight.
And a strike. Robin Ventura said they wanted to hold him out one more game and hopefully bring him back tomorrow night. 1-1 to Saladino. White Sox in 4th place in the division. The Twins, of course, in 5th. There's a bunt. Gibson fields his position well, and Saladino will get credit for a sacrifice. Eaton going to second base.
Every manager likes to get that first run on the board, and that's what Robin Ventura is hoping now the 3, 4, 5 hitters can do, produce a run, as Saladino lays down a sacrifice bunt. Advancing Eaton over to second base, and for Saladino, his second sacrifice of the year.
Just a little thing, but Gibson, as we know, is pretty good at holding on runners. Got a nice slide step, and the fact that he discouraged a stolen base attempt by Eaton because he's pretty quick to the plate meant that the White Sox had to use an out to get their runner to second base, and Eaton wasn't able to steal second. Another first pitch ball to Melky Cabrera, who is just 1 for 20 against Kyle Gibson, and Suzuki out there to talk to Gibson about something. Runner at second,
right.
Maybe signals.
Yeah, with a runner at second base, and maybe a lot of fans don't know, a catcher will go through more than one sign. He'll use a lot of times an indicator. Last finger he puts down might be the pitch. First sign after 2. Whatever the pitcher really wants.
To the left field corner, and it's twisting foul and back into the seats.
You know, Dick, even though Cabrera is only 1 for 20 off of Gibson, he has really liked hitting against the Twins this year. He is 21 for 47, a 447 batting average. But those are the numbers against Kyle, making his 3rd start against the White Sox this year. There's the signs right there. Now you have to guess what it's going to be.
Popped up near the Twins dugout. Escobar has no play.
A lot of times you'll see that, Dick, to where, you know, the catcher will go through signs and the pitcher will shake them off, and then they'll go through another set of signs. I myself, that like to work quick, I went with the first sign after 2. Say if he went 3, 2, 1, 2, that's a fastball, right? Now, if I don't want the fastball, want the curveball, I shake him off. He goes to 1 pitch. because I don't want to go through a whole sequence. I want the game to keep moving.
Plus, there's some math involved, and that's never been your strong suit. Cabrera strikes out, 2 down.
Good slider down, and the frustration of Cabrera against Gibson continues.
We'll bring up Abreu. Good streak with now 28 straight games, and it's fattened up Abreu's batting average and his slugging percentage.
Yeah, he's hitting .373 during the last 28 ball games. 9 home runs. He's driven in 20 runs. Hit a big 2-run home run in last night's ball game, along with a couple singles.
Gibson misses, ball 1. And Abreu, just 3 hits, 19 at bats against Gibson. There's a reason Gibson's record against Chicago is so good. Most of the Chicago hitters have struggled against him, including arguably their best hitter, Jose Abreu. Swing and a miss, and it's 1-1.
A good changeup right there in a fastball situation. Abreu, just 28 years old, out of Cuba, signed by the White Sox back in 2013. 3rd season. See the last 10 ball games, hitting almost 400.
And a center field, Buxton coming in, won't get there. It's a base hit, and that'll score Eaton. And Abreu again with a hit to the right field side of second base on a pitch that looked like it was down and in.
Isn't that something? I mean, he got 3 hits last night. One of them was a 2-run home run that was down and away, and he golfed it, maybe a blast to right center. But even in his first at bat, this is almost deja vu from his first at bat, where the pitch is running in on him, and he just softly hitting this ball into center field, and that scores Eaton, so the White Sox take an early 1-0 lead.
And that'll bring up Justin Morneau. Inside ball 1. Morneau starting the resumption of his big league career in July, and he already has hit enough, one would think, to encourage somebody to bring him aboard next year.
And Gibson has fallen behind on all 5 batters so far. Ball 1.
Now 1-1.
Santana did the same thing last night. He faced 5 batters, unable to get strike 1 on any of the 5 first batters.
I talked to Santana today about his outing last night. I said, did you know early on? He said, yep, he knew it was going to be a struggle before he even threw a pitch. So the bullpen didn't feel good. He had no command in the bullpen, and he knew it was going to be a long night before he ever took the game mound. 1-1.
See, what he needs to do is go out there and not have anything in the bullpen, come out and pitch a shutout. That clears all of that. Sometimes I have the worst bullpen ever, and I pitch one of my better games. And sometimes you go out there, you're hitting your spots, the glove is popping, and you go out and you can't get through the first inning.
2-1 to Morneau. Pulled, foul.
Been there, done that.
Well, the best example I can think of, you very well, I know, remember the last home game of the 1987 season. You started, completed the game. Charlie Leibrandt was the mound opponent. John Wathen, a good friend of ours, was the manager of the Royals, and Wathen said Leibrandt came in from the bullpen and said, I got the best stuff I've had all year. And he got knocked out in the first inning, gave up 3 home runs, and he was done.
Yeah, what is your best stuff? The hitters will let you know if it's good or bad.
2-2, and fouled back. But it was interesting in talking to Santana about his outing last night. We were talking about just how fickle the baseball gods can be. He pitched a great ball game in Kansas City 2 starts ago, lost 2-1 to Danny Duffy, so he got the loss, and he just felt terrible out there last night and got the win. 2-2. And another bouncer foul, and pitch count already climbing for Gibson. This will be his 20th.
And Kyle's not a strikeout pitcher, so it's important for him to try to get some quick outs. You can see the pitch count. I always say first 3 innings you want to be under 50 pitches. Gibson's working on number 20 right here to try to get the third out of the first inning.
Into the camera. Well, Kevin Gord, assuming he's all right over there. Isn't that where Kevin bailed already? Oh, there he is. He's hiding behind the corner of the dugout.
I don't blame him.
It's a smart former goaltender right there. Doesn't have any equipment on, hide behind a wall. 2-2 to Morneau on the outside corner. Finally, Gibson puts away Morneau and ends the inning. But a couple of hits, and the White Sox get the game's first run. Paul Molitor hoping that Twins can finish with a strong month of September. Obviously avoid 100 losses along the way. Menard's batting order has Brian Dozier leading off, then Jorge Polanco, Trevor Plouffe, Miguel Sano, Eduardo Escobar, Max Kepler, Kurt Suzuki, Logan Schaefer, and Byron Buxton.
And it'll be Carlos Rodon on the mound making his 23rd start. This guy has been on fire over his last 5 starts. 3-0, 1.47 ERA. Last time he pitched here, he just had come off the disabled list with a left wrist soreness. Ended up losing against the Twins. From there on, he's been almost perfect.
Inside to Dozier, ball 1. In that game, Rodon gave up a 3-run home run in the first inning to Kenny Vargas. Dozier got a double and a home run against him. And Rodon, I mean, this is not, professional wrestling or anything like that, but Rodon was quoted as saying he's got a payback he owes the Twins after his rough outing at the end of July. 2-0 to Dozier. And now a strike.
Well, I was watching Rodon warm up, and he reminds me so much of former White Sox pitcher Mark Burley. Now, Burley already had thrown 10 pitches. But Rodon, I mean, he's kind of a little bit stockier than Burley, but same type of delivery almost. He doesn't go over his head. He kind of brings that glove to his belt, and Burley, of course, works so quickly. But here's see, we're right there. That's Mark Burley right there to me. Keeping that shoulder in nice.
Wearing number 55 instead of number 56. Dozier keeps the at bat alive. When he pitched against the Twins in late July, he was trying to work his changeup into his arsenal more. And the Twins hit some changeups and did some damage against the changeup. But he said over the course of the game, he never lost confidence in it, and he claims the increased use of that changeup is what has turned his season around. Well, the reason he had a really good August, he says, is he Even in defeat, he developed confidence in the pitch against the Twins.
You know, and good for him, because sometimes guys work on new pitches and maybe they're not successful right off the get-go. Especially early in the ball game, they put it in their back pocket. They forget about it. Rondon did not. He kept throwing it.
Dozier having a long battle here. A couple of 2-strike fouls. Count still 2-2. And slider strikes Dozier out, 1 away.
Rodon with now 125 strikeouts and 129 in the third inning, so he's averaged almost a strikeout an inning.
Northland Ford defense for the White Sox. Melky Cabrera in left, Adam Eaton in center, Avisail Garcia in right. Frazier, Sanchez, Saladino, Abreu the infielders, and Omar Narvaez doing the catching. He's been matched up with Rodon during this nice run, and no reason to break him up. Polanco takes a strike. For Dozier, his 102nd strikeout of the year. For a while, it looked like he might not reach triple digits in strikeouts, but he eclipsed it in last night's game.
Oh.
Polanco drilled in the thigh, it looked like. That was Dozier's, or that was Rodon's first pitch to Dozier inside, and this one with Narvaez looking in the dugout.
Narvaez, well, he's pointing to third base right there. It's going to go inside, just too far in. He's basically talking to Frazier over at third base that they're working him in. So be ready in case he pulls the ball.
Lean toward the line a little bit if you're going to lean anywhere.
Right. Now, I don't think that was like throw the ball behind him. That was more toward he was looking over at third base.
Well, Polanco aboard, and now Trevor Plouffe.
You know, I remember Tim Laudner and Gary Gaetti had a sign that, you know, say you threw a slow pitch. Tim Laudner would tell Gaetti as the pitch is coming or just prior to kind of watch it, you know, be alive down there.
Well, there has this year been a little history between these two teams. The Twins smoked Abreu early in the season. Trevor Plouffe lost 5 weeks because he was hitting the ribs by a fastball. So the home run trot that Plouffe hit went on last night, a 2-run home run, had to feel good. Whether it's intentional or not, somebody hits you, you'd like to do what you can to make them pay for it.
Baseball players have long memories.
It's ex-baseball players that have really short memories, right?
No, there's still a couple guys I'd like to get.
Could be a double play grounder, and is. Plouffe is retired. Rodon drills Polanco, but only faces 3 men in the inning. First pitch fastball in last night's game, and he got one, and he pulverized it.
You know, the average down I mentioned last night, but 34 home runs for Todd Frazier. This guy does like the fastball. We saw him chase that slider down and away, and maybe that's why Gibson's also had success against him, just 1 for 6.
And Frazier hit his 34th home run last year. He's on a pace to hit 41. Right now he's tied with Robin Ventura for the most in a single season by a White Sox third baseman. As we mentioned last night, Ventura, jokingly of course, has threatened to bench Frazier for the rest of the season, so his record is still intact.
I faced Bill Melton. He had a lot of power.
And now inside 1-1 to Frazier. Garcia and Narvaez will follow.
Frazier coming over from the Cincinnati Reds, 2-time All-Star for the Reds.
Missing inside 2-1. Mentioned it as it relates to relief pitchers kind of auditioning for a job next year, and I'm not so sure that there are any sacred cows on this Twins pitching staff. Whoa! The bat helicopters to the edge of the dirt.
That is a great bat toss right there.
And he kept it fair too. That's hard to do. Usually those end up in foul territory.
I bet it's that slider. Let's take a look at the pitch. It's a breaking ball. Almost made it out to the outfield.
Getting a little grief from the Chicago bench, as you might imagine. Frazier says he has enjoyed his first year in the American League with the White Sox.
Well, he's a free agent at the end of the year.
Which is why he's no longer in Cincinnati, of course. The Reds decided to make a move.
Third strikeout for Gibson.
Second in a row looking, and the fastball right down the middle of the plate.
Yeah, Frazier definitely looking for maybe that slider. Took the fastball.
Now Garcia. Inside, sinking fastball. Garcia swings over the top.
Yeah, good movement on that pitch.
In the dirt, 1-1.
No, you were saying, Dick, about Kyle Gibson, you know, and auditioning, and it is. That's the way you have to look at it. No matter if you're Irvin Santana, probably the best pitcher on the ball club, or if you're, you know, a starter, every start is an audition for the following year.
To Hopper to third, and Escobar over to Bauer, 2 down, or to Plouffe rather. You know, it should be that way all the time.
Yes.
Every start is you're to be judged on what you've done for your team lately, but under this scenario where there is going to be a new general manager, a new president of baseball operations, and whoever he or she is going to be is going to inherit a pitching staff in disrepair.
You know, Dick, God gave me a good arm, and he gave me a lot of will and desire and to go out and compete, but I looked at every start that, hey, if this arm pops, this might be my last start. You don't know when that might end, so you got to go out there and bust your tail end like it. You may never pitch again. That's
Kirby,
the attitude you have to have.
What was Kirby Puckett's quote when he announced his retirement? Tomorrow isn't promised to any of us.
No.
And as a professional athlete, that's especially true. 1-1 to Omar Narvaez.
Narvaez just playing in his 17th game.
He's hit a little bit so far. Talking with Mark Salas, who is the bullpen coach for the White Sox and used to catch for the Twins. He's talking about Narvaez and how he in spring training made quite an impression. He played in a lot of B games, not the regular lineup, but he kept catching well, hitting well, and eventually with some other things that have happened, he got a call up. He's done well up here, and the White Sox felt comfortable trading Deoner Navarro to give him a little more playing time.
Yeah, he's a switch hitting catcher. There's the Chief, teammate of mine. When he was here with Minnesota, 85, 86, 87.
Just missed the corner. Gibson thought he might have clipped it.
Yeah, Narvaez, as I was mentioning, a switch hitting catcher, but he has yet to have a at bat from the right side of the plate. That fastball, not enough for the plate. But Dana DeMuth, the crew chief, said no.
Bounce to the left side. Polanco slings it over to Plouffe. And a much better inning for Kyle Gibson. Second for the Twins. I'll give the young man some credit. He was here doing a lot of extra work today, taking extra ground balls defensively, and the Twins, although he's not playing third base most of the time, that's someone else, Trevor Plouffe, or in this case Escobar. And then too, working with Tom Bernansky, and today they were spending a lot of time working on hitting drills off of a tee. And I asked Bernansky what specifically they were working on, and Sano takes a strike. They set the tee up on the in front of the plate by the inside corner and wanted Sano to pull the ball. And it probably won't surprise you to know that most of his swings ended up with the ball in the seats. Then they moved the tee to the other side of the plate, and he drove balls into the seats in right field. It's just off a tee, just sitting there, and he's driving home runs. And then they switched it back to the inside corner, and I asked Tom what the purpose of that was, and he said to get Sano's swing straightened out. He mentioned something about the hips and all that, so the ball, when it leaves home plate, doesn't hook. That a proper swing, especially one as powerful as Sano's, you don't want the ball to hook, because we've seen him do it a number of times, just hitting the stuffing out of the ball. Narvaez taking one off the side of the mast.
But you know what, Dick? I mean, Don Mattingly was the best as far as hitting off the tee.
Right.
He loved to hit off the tee, but what that does, it helps you focus on watching that ball come in, because if that ball's sitting on the tee, you have to hit it squarely to do what he said he did, hit it out. So you have to keep your eye on the ball. That ball, I think, hit.
Strike three. No, it's a hit batter. Sano started running. He wasn't sure whether he was hit or whether it was strike three. At any rate, he'll end up at first base. How do you not know whether you got hit or not?
Why, I don't know if he swung at this or not. That's the question I think that Sano was maybe questioning. Take a look right here. It's a breaking ball down and in.
He got hit right off the toe.
Yeah, hit off his toe, but he felt it, and you can see Dana DeMuth pointing to first right away. So the second hit batsman already for Rodon.
Here's Eduardo Escobar hitting fifth. Anyway, I just thought it was interesting that there was something specific they were working on with the ball not moving, just sitting on a tee. Escobar takes inside, ball one.
You know, it doesn't matter where you are in the division. Of course, the Twins find themselves 27 games behind the Indians in September. Guys, you still have to work the game. You want to get better, you have to put the time in.
Lifted down the right field line and chased by Garcia. And making a fair ball catch. Sano trying for second base, and the throw off target. Nice alert base running play by Sano. He saw Garcia unable to get behind the catch for a good throw, and he took off for second base.
That is very good base running right there. Garcia had to run into that corner here at Target Field, and Sano took the lead, and then he saw that Garcia not only was going to catch it, he was also kind of backpedaling, and he had to, you know, maybe throw flat-footed, and he gets over to second base.
And now Kepler with a chance to tie the game with a hit to the outfield. This one skied to left. Cabrera with the catch. That's 2 away. Kepler, very often he's retired on 1 pitch, but that's what happens here in the second. And that'll bring up Suzuki. 2 really good at bats that paid off in RBI hits for Suzuki last night. Now the Twins are asking him to do it one more time here in the second.
Yeah, he had 2 at bats, a total of 17 pitches that he saw. RBI single in the second, and then an RBI single in the 6th inning.
The White Sox kind of manufactured a run in the 1st inning. A single, a sacrifice bunt, and a 2-out flare to single into center field. We'll see if the Twins can do something similar here in the second. Suzuki just 1 for 7 against Rodon. Foul back. Twins hitters, of course, are just starting to build a history against Rodon. Hasn't been with the White Sox for 2 full seasons yet.
Yeah, he's making his 5th career start against the Twins. 1 win, 2 losses, but a very good 3.67 earned run average.
Suzuki takes a strike, 1 and 2.
Now Rodon basically a 3-pitch pitcher. He's got that fastball. He'll throw the 2-seamer once in a while. He's got that hard slider, like a cut fastball, and then a very good changeup. The slider is his strikeout pitch.
One and 2.
Like that.
And the slider strikes out Suzuki as it struck out Dozier in the 1st inning. And Sano's left at second base. It's still 1-0.
Target field, top of the third. Logan Schaefer out in left field tonight. Spoke with him earlier today. He said he's more naturally a center fielder. He said he's just happy to be in the lineup. He says he knows what September means. A lot of call-ups, a lot of shuffling in the lineup. And to Bert's point earlier, he knows every single chance he gets, he wants to make an impression on Paul Molitor, the coaching staff, and the organization. And he also said, you know, this is an outfield that's quirky, but left field's the easy one. He said center field, I get it. It's my natural position. It's fine. He said right field's the one that you really have to take extra work. And he said a lot of times I'm out there shagging fly balls during batting practice, just trying to get a little more comfortable. He did acknowledge that the spot he's in tonight, fairly comfortable out there, guys.
Thank you, Kevin. Gibson gets the glove down, makes the play on Sanchez for a quick first out of the third inning.
You know, these guys make it look so easy at this level or any type of professional level. What outfielders have to sometimes what they have to focus on sometimes would be hard. You know, you're out on the left field, you're watching Eaton right here. You got to watch the ball go toward home plate. That cat-like instincts outfielders have to pick up the ball as quick as possible.
It's interesting. I was talking with Eaton about just that before the game today. And I said, you know, we've seen you in right. You really played well in right field. He said, oh, thank you very much. But now you're out in center. He goes, well, it's not that tough. You know, he's kind of used to making the transition, going back and forth. And he understands why, you know, the White Sox starting finally to get some production from Garcia, so they need a spot to put him. It happens to be right field. But I asked him about this ballpark in particular, this outfield, and he said it's not that tricky. You know, there are no angles that you need to be concerned with. Like Houston has all the different little, you know,
crevices.
Right. I asked him about the overhang. He says, "Oh, it's not that hard. You should be able to tell pretty quickly whether it's ball lined over the reach of Escobar." And Eaton runs well. Will be held to a single because Schaefer got to that ball quick.
Yeah, see right there, Schaefer watched that ball and saw that it got quickly past the jumping Escobar, and he had to utilize his speed to get over there to keep the speedster Eaton at first base.
And get in front of it because he's a left-handed thrower.
You see that high fastball, and this is Eaton at its best right there. I mean, just slapping a ball the other way.
So a one-out single for Eaton. And Eaton mentioned something I've never heard a Twins outfielder mention here at Target Field. And Eaton, I think, in the context of saying the toughest thing about playing the outfield here, particularly center field here, is what you'll see from our next center field shot. The limestone. And he says sometimes he, in center field, has a hard time seeing the ball leave home plate because of the beige colored limestone behind home plate. He said most ballparks, you know, it's a dark blue or dark green with the advertising and all that. But he says sometimes here at Target Field, it's kind of tough to see a rubbed up baseball that's about the same color as that limestone. Close at first, Eaton back.
Eaton, the speedster, 12 stolen bases, have been caught 4 times, and Gibson has been really good the first couple 2-3 years as far as not letting a lot of base stealers steal against him. But this year, 11 stolen bases in 12 attempts.
And a strike 1-1, but for whatever reason, Eaton was not able to steal second base, and Saladino had to make it out to get him to second base.
I think what Robin Ventura is doing, the old Gene Mauch, you know, let's get on the board first.
Right.
Gene Mauch did that so well with that Angel Ball Club.
And the Twins ball club when he managed the Twins.
Yeah, I think more with the Angels because they had, I believe, Rick Burleson leading off. Bobby Grich would bunt so many times. Then you got Carew, you got Baylor, you've got these horses, that would drive in runs.
1-1 to Saladino. Half swing. And a strike, 1-2.
I remember, talking to Gene Mauch about that. I asked him about, why do you bunt early? He said, because I want to put that one run on the board before the opposing team. Because he had it down to a science. In today's, he had 70% of all teams that score first win the game. That's what he believed.
1-2. And just reflecting back to Gene's pitching staffs here in Minnesota and Anaheim, it made more sense to play for 1 run with the pitchers he had in Anaheim than the pitchers he had here in Minnesota. 1-0 lead. With a lot of those pitchers he had to run out there for the Twins, probably didn't last very long. Swing and a miss, and Gibson has another strikeout.
Yeah, strikeout number 4 for Kyle.
2 down, and that'll bring up Melky Cabrera.
Oh, good breaking ball right here. Outer half of the plate. You see Kurt Suzuki's glove. He pulls it in a little bit, but Saladino swings through it.
Cabrera now 1 for 21 against Gibson. And one hopper right to Plouffe. That'll take care of things. Eaton left the board. It's still 1-0 Chicago. Baseball on Fox Sports North is presented by CenturyLink. Switch to CenturyLink Prism TV for an advanced TV experience. Learn more at cprismtv.com. Man alive, is it a beautiful night here at Target Field. Twins hoping to make it 2 in a row. They're trailing 1-0. And Logan Schaefer will lead things off. If somebody here, whether it's Schaefer, Buxton, or Dozier, tries to drop down a bunt between the mound and first base.
Yeah, Frazier, the third baseman, already almost on the grass. And Abreu at first, not playing a deep first base, so they're maybe looking for the possible bunt.
First pitch strike. Schaefer getting the start in left field because Eddie Rosario against Carlos Rodon. 0 for 7 with 6 strikeouts. So Schaefer getting a chance against a tough lefty. And a drive to left center field. Eaton over. And off the end of his glove. Schaefer can run. He's got 2. He wants, no he doesn't. He wants to hold up with a double. And Eaton a little slow in getting up. That ball hit right off the end of his glove. He nearly made a tremendous catch in the gap.
Yeah, might have knocked the wind out of himself right there. What a great effort right there by Eaton. This ball hit the other way, a pitch down, and Eaton, who was shading a little bit to right, full out stretch. You can see the ball tick off the glove, and the way he landed, yeah. I mean, you land like that, boy, boom. You're going to knock the air out of yourself right there.
That's selling out to make a catch right there. That is a great effort by Adam Eaton. You can see the ground under repair. The result of his great diving effort. It's a leadoff double, and now Buxton. He wasn't going to bunt before. He might be bunting here.
Yeah, it's a double for Schaefer, his first extra base hit as a Twin in his 4th game. 4 for 10 now.
Buxton peels a foul down the right field line.
Looks like they're going to let Buxton swing away here, hoping that he can drive the ball to right field.
Get him over. However you choose to do it, Schaefer needs to be at third base after this at bat. Or there's a liner to right. That ball is trapped, I believe. Yep. And now the ball gets away from Garcia. Buxton with a sharp single to right. He not only advanced the runner, he got himself a knock.
You know what's nice about that at bat? Tom Bernansky, he's got to be looking at Buxton saying, yes, that's a great job right there, because it looked like that's all he was thinking, is hit the ball the other way. Watch his momentum right there. Look at that. Dropping the barrel of the bat, wanting to hit it behind the runner. And Garcia, good effort right there, but the ball did short hop in and out of his glove. And Schaefer had to hold up at second base. And he scoots over to third.
Now Dozier went down swinging on the slider in the first inning. Dozier's been the most successful Twins batter. 4 for 13 now, but a couple of home runs. And we mentioned the Twins beat Rodon in late July. Dozier got a double and a home run. Out in front of that changeup, strike one. Fastball in the mid-90s, a slider in the upper 80s, and that changeup in the mid-80s. It's a pretty potent combo, especially when you can command all three pitches. One and one.
He came back with another changeup. Yeah, his last 5 starts, I mentioned 3-0, an earned run average of 1.47. Over his last 5 starts, allowed only 5 earned runs in 30 2/3 innings.
Tops in runs batted in, also tops in runs scored. Dozier scored 85 runs and might very well hit triple digits in runs scored again this year. A drive to left center field. It is deep and gone.
Is he hot or what? Home run number 33 for Brian Dozier. And back-to-back nights the Twins have been able to hit a 3-run home run. Wow.
For Dozier now 86 runs scored and 84 runs batted in.
That's a fastball, maybe a little cutter that stayed up. Good extension by Brian. And it's a 3-1 ball game.
It really is a marvel. This guy hardly ever seems to miss his pitch. Sharply hit off the glove of Sanchez, and Polanco has a base hit. Rodon gave up some big innings to the Twins here in late July, and now this is already a big one. Nobody out. The Twins have 4 hits.
Well, remember against Jose Quintana in the second inning yesterday, the Twins put 5 hits together and scored 5 runs thanks to Buxton 3-run home run.
And now Plouffe. Trevor hit into a double play to wrap up the first inning. You played with Harmon, and Harmon had some great years. But I mean, this guy's on a pace to hit 40 home runs this year, most of them since the All-Star break, and he just doesn't seem to miss his pitch. Polanco flushed back to the bag.
The home run measured at 403 feet. Brian Dozier's 3-run home run. But you know what? You were talking about Sano coming out early. Every day you come out here, Dick, you are going to see somebody out here early working at their trade.
I just don't think at the start of the year, and if Dozier gets there, if you'd have said at the start of the year, yeah, the Twins are going to have a 40 home run hitter, I mean, everybody would have thought it would have been Sano, right?
Well, what impresses me about Brian Dozier, he had 28 home runs last year. The batting average is maintaining right around 260, 270, where coming into the year is a 240 hitter.
Is that changeup a swing and a miss? We said on the road trip, there's no question he's not only proven to be the best player on the Twins, he's become one of the best players in the American League. One and one to Plouffe. To center, and he has a routine catch to make. One down. And that'll bring up Sano. Now Toyota's key stat of the night, Carlos Rodon, coming into tonight since his start against the Twins, has a very good, in fact Major League's best earned run average.
Yeah, 5 starts. Again, all 5 starts quality starts. Only 5 runs allowed in the 30 2/3 innings pitched.
Sano was hitting the left big toe his first time up, leading off the second inning. Foul.
That home run that Dozier for Rodon, that was his 19th home run that he's given up. 17 of the 19 have been to right-handed hitters.
One strike to Sano. And they've got Polanco picked off. And an acrobatic slide attempt to no avail. 2 down.
That's first pickoff by Rodon this year, his second career pickoff. And Polanco was thrown out for the first time in last night's ball game. Tried to get a good jump. Rodon picked him off. Changed to a 1-3-4.
And Sano takes a strike. 0-2. One and two. It's amazing watching Sano just hit a ball off a tee and watch how strong he is. Swing and a miss, and that ends the inning. But a good one for the Twins. 4 hits in the inning, and the biggest inning hit, of course, Brian Dozier's 3-run home run. Presented by Northland Ford. Visit northlandford.com and your local Northland Ford dealer today. And by Grand Casino. The best stories start here. What's yours? Brian Dozier's become a very dangerous hitter, and he has put the Twins in front 3-1 with another home run. Kyle Gibson, meanwhile, has settled down after giving up, well, he gave up a couple of singles and a sacrifice, but he gave up a run in the first inning.
Yeah, and that's been his, kind of book so far this year. The most runs he's given up as in an inning is his first inning. Then he settles down, and hopefully he'll settle down nicely here.
And the first pitch absolutely smoked into center field. Abreu is locked in.
Yes, he is.
Leadoff man is on here in the fourth.
Well, and 3 hits in last night's ball game. Picked up the RBI in the first inning. It's his second hit.
And now Morneau.
You don't mind giving up hits if you can just give them to 2 guys. He and Abreu so far have got the 4 hits.
You got Morneau looking to end the first inning. Fouled back. Oh.
Well, what I like about what Gibson's been able to do after that first inning, he threw 21 pitches. A normal inning, 15, 16 pitches. Then he came back in the second, 14, and then 11 in the third. So came into this inning with 46 pitches. That's under 50. That's outstanding.
And now outside 1-1.
I only say that because of today's game with the pitch count. If you can keep it under 50, like Rodon has 39 after 3. If you can do that, double that, you're going to get into the 6th or 7th inning, and that's what they expect, hopefully, out of starters today.
Could be 2, should be 2. Dozier with a softer flip. Looked to me like Polanco might have gone to the bag himself. They got the force at second, and Morneau reaches on a fielder's choice.
And you got to realize that Brian Dozier's shading Morneau to pull that ball, so he had to come a long way for that. Take a look right here, the high hop right there. Don't know if Polanco would have been better off maybe running to the bag because Brian's momentum's taking him out toward left field.
Yep. Now Frazier will bat. He was called out on strikes. 1 pitch after he threw his bat about 120 feet down the third baseline. High and deep to center. And going back is Buxton, but that ball's gone. And Frazier hits his second home run of the series, and we're tied at 3.
A hanger right there. That was a hanger, a breaking ball that stayed right where Frazier likes it. And Robin Ventura saying, there goes my record.
35th home run of the year.
See if Robin shakes his hand. He may not. Last night's ball game, it was Santana that threw him a ball right down the heart of the plate.
Nothing.
See?
Nothing.
Stone face.
Down and in a ball to Garcia.
Sitting next to Don Cooper there, laughing.
Today's a big day for Don Cooper. Mentioned it to Robin Ventura, and then he proceeded to hear all about it from Don Cooper. 35 years ago today, Don Cooper got his one and only major league win for the Twins against the Yankees. So I asked Robin whether he was
doesn't want to shake his head.
Foul tip, and Suzuki's going to try to walk it off.
Records are made to be broken. There's
they're going to hug it out.
Get out of here.
I got you, Zoe.
That home run measured at 431 feet. So Frazier did not miss it. Good TV right there.
1-1 to Garcia. Missing inside 2-1.
That home run allowed by Gibson, his 17th home run. Everybody having a good time.
Swinging over the sinker, and it's 2-2. Garcia hit a ground ball to Escobar his first time up. White Sox kept coming back on the Twins last night. Never quite got there, but now a 2-run home run by Frazier is even the game at 3. And Garcia swings and misses at the slider.
That's strikeout number 5 in a ball game for Gibson.
2 down, and that'll bring up Omar Narvaez.
Well, let's take a look at the home run right here. Look at the slider. Ooh. Straight away center. Great solid swing by Frazier.
See, Suzuki was set up off the plate outside.
Well, that's one of those pitches that his brother always threw him right there at the home run hitting contest at the All-Star games.
Swing and a miss by Narvaez.
Narvaez just 24 years old, out of Venezuela. Originally signed by the Tampa Bay Rays.
White Sox have had a tough time establishing anybody with any permanence behind the plate since A.J. Pierzynski left. Crack foul, 1-2.
You know, you look at a young kid like this that you know, spent 8 years in the minor leagues with the Rays and the White Sox, and a .277 hitter in the minor leagues. So not bad numbers in the minor leagues. Can he bring that up here?
Popped up weakly over the Chicago dugout, still 1-2. The White Sox are kind of in the same position the Twins are in terms of catching moving forward to next year. It's anybody's guess who will be the regular catcher for the Twins come opening day 2017. 1-2. There's some guys out there. Alex Avila's with the White Sox now. He'll be a free agent. Wilson Ramos will be out there. He's a free agent.
Once property of the Twins.
Yeah. 2-2 to Narvaez. Full count. The plan was, of course, that by now John Ryan Murphy would be at least splitting time with Kurt Suzuki. Murphy sent down in early May, struggled offensively, and now he's come on a bit over the last few weeks.
There's the wiggle of the finger, the two-seam fastball. Keep it down.
And it's grounded weakly to Dozier. Gibson a little upset as he crosses the baseline because he misfired to Frazier. And Frazier has Ventura on the White Sox home run list. Frazier's crushed a couple of home runs already in this series. And a game-tying home run in the top of the fourth. The Carsoup.com trivia question: who is the all-time home run leader for a single season in White Sox history? For the longest time, it was Bill Melton. but he has been passed many times. Eduardo Escobar will start the 4th inning.
Well, could it be the guy that just loved hitting against the Twins, Mr. Konerko?
Single season.
Oh, single season.
I'm thinking Frank Thomas. Albert Bell had some productive years with the White Sox. Tapped to 3rd. Easy play for Frazier. Gets the first hop, and Abreu has to do a little fancy footwork. 1 down. That'll bring up Kepler. September 20th, Ryder Cup night here at Target Field. A limited number of Ryder Cup theme night ticket packages are available that include a game ticket and Ryder Cup themed Twins cap. You can learn more at twinsbaseball.com/Ryder Cup or call 800-33-TWINS.
I know who it is. Ron Kittle. That's who it is.
That's just your personal experience.
He or Dick Allen. We're just throwing names out there.
1 strike to Kepler. A little pop fly. And Abreu on the outfield grass makes the catch. Busted bat for a pop-up. 2 down.
Fastball got in on Kepler right there.
Kurt Suzuki will bat. He struck out to end the 2nd inning his first time up.
They see Rodon's pitching. Pitches 43. He's doing a good job, even though he made the mistake to Dozier.
Twins have 4 hits, and they came in succession in the 3rd inning against Rodon. Strike on the outside corner. The middle, and that'll skip into center field. Suzuki with a base hit, and that'll bring up Schaefer. Schaefer started the 3-run 3rd by slicing a line drive to left center field just off the tip of Eaton's glove, and it went for a double. And 2 at bats later, Dozier hit his 3-run home run. If improved outfield defense is going to be a priority for the Twins moving forward to 2017, Schaefer's already shown that he is to be considered seriously as an extra outfielder.
Yeah, 5 seasons with the Brewers. He played in 292 games and just offensively had a tough time. A .212 hitter.
The drawback for Schaefer, as you can see, he's a left-handed batter. And if the Twins starting outfield next year includes Rosario, Buxton, and Kepler, well, 2 of those guys are left-handed batters.
You have Robbie Grossman right there, a switch hitter.
Who's much better from the right side. Popped up. And looks to be playable for Narvaez. He's got it. The Twins are done in the 4th, on to the 5th in a tie game.
field. It's 3-3 right now. We're into the top of the 5th, and a good time out here. Out in right field, it's time to go into the Minnesota State Lottery winner's circle and meet Melinda and her family from Sioux Falls, South Dakota, including Isabella poking her head right through that sign. Bert, here's your target, and it's your anniversary. 11 years, guys. Congrats. What a great place to spend it.
Yes, we are so excited. We have been coming the last 3 years. It's Morgan's first year at the game, Isabella's second year at the game, and we love you, Bert. Thank you for circling us.
I have never seen anyone more excited to get circled or get the lottery tickets here in the winner's circle. Great way to celebrate the anniversary. The target is there, but we don't want the White Sox hitting the ball here. We'll wait till the Twins come to bat, guys.
Oh, that is awesome. Isabella, you are hereby circled. Great sign right there. I remember one night day at the Dome, we had the Circle Me Berts, and there was a group of about 4 or 5 nuns. I don't know if you remember that, Dick, and they all had signs like that, and they all had their faces in the signs. That was awesome. I love the Circle Me Bert signs with a hole in there. Stick your head in there.
Since you asked, no, I don't remember. I think I would remember 4 nuns with their head sticking out of a hole.
Too.
Okay, all right.
That was the most important thing.
Swing and a miss by Sanchez.
I think they were on our side.
1 down. Sanchez quickly strikes out, 1 gone in the 5th. Join Fox Sports North and the Minnesota Wild for the breakaway 10K, 5K, and 1 mile run on Saturday, September 24th, benefiting the Herb Brooks Foundation. All participants receive a T-shirt and are qualified to win 2 sweet tickets for the Wild Jets game Sunday, October 8th. For more info, visit foxsportsnorth.com and click on upcoming events in the Hot Topics bar. Here's Adam Eaton. He's got 2 singles against Gibson. And he takes strike 1. Up high, 1-1.
This guy right here, 27 years old, Adam Eaton, made himself a good player. He's with the Diamondbacks for a couple years. Didn't get a chance to play much. Came over to Chicago last year, hit .287. A guy that just kind of a pest. I called him a pest last night. A guy like a Brett Butler that you want to keep off the bases because he just creates havoc.
White Sox won the World Series in 2005, and they had a similar player, Scott Pasetnik, as their leadoff man and center fielder. He's got more power than Pasetnik. And now 3-1. They've had to move him around a little bit, and what's really credit to Eaton when they moved him to right field because they had Austin Jackson out there at the start of the year. He just took to it like Alex Gordon did in the left field, moving from the infield. Now he's got his 3rd hit tonight against Gibson. This one comes with 1 out in the 5th.
Well, you know, the first time up, a base hit up the middle. Second time up, he lined it over the glove of Escobar, and right there he pulls it into right field. So utilizing the whole field.
Saladino will bat. He sacrificed Eaton to second in the 1st and then went down swinging in the 3rd. Strike on the outside corner. Gibson misfired on his first pitch throughout the 1st inning. He's done much better with that lately.
And you say, what's a good mark? I'd say 13 to 14 of 20 first pitch strikes is a better mark than 10.
1-1.
That's one thing I think I've mentioned before. After a ball game, if I faced, if I went 9 innings, I'd get the chart because the pitcher the next day usually would keep it. And I would always look at the first thing I would look at is how many, if I faced 36 batters, how many first pitch strikes did I have? If I had 25 in that range, then I probably pitched a pretty good ball game. I didn't want to look at the chart where I only faced 10 batters.
Yeah. 8 of 10 might have made you feel good for a little while, but then the 80% mark would have made you feel good. But you only face 10 batters. That's not good.
No, that's not good.
2-1. Well, they don't do that anymore. The next day's pitcher doesn't chart the game. They will, I would hope, pay attention. If you're Hector Santiago and you're going to go against the White Sox tomorrow, you're paying attention to how these hitters are swinging.
You see who's hot, who's not.
2-1. That's dribbled foul.
I used to come out for early batting practice a lot of times and watch the opposing team, because you can see guys what they're working on. You know, if I'm coming to the ballpark here and I'm a Chicago White Sox, I may see Sano hit off that tee and see what he and Tom Bernansky are working on, or Rudy Hernandez, the assistant hitting coach.
2-2 to Saladino. Gibson would love a sharp ground ball hit at somebody here. There goes Eaton, and the ball hit to short. And Polanco flips on the run, and Eaton stands at second base, 2 away.
Maybe staying out of a double play. Eaton took off.
Dozier's Deck is back a week from tomorrow. A limited number of special ticket packages includes a game ticket and limited edition Brian Dozier Blaze Orange stocking cap. Portion of the proceeds from every ticket purchased benefits Pheasants Forever. For details and tickets, visit twinsbaseball.com/Dozier's Deck.
I like that hat.
Blaze Orange hunting cap. Gotta find mine. It's right around the corner. Down and in, ball 1. The batter's Melky Cabrera. He's now 1 for 22 against Kyle Gibson. The next batter is Jose Abreu, and the Twins can't seem to get him out so far in this series. There's a looper to left. Charging is Schaefer. He comes up firing. Throw to the plate. Not in time. And Cabrera gets a base hit. And will go to second on the play at the plate. It is 4-3 Chicago.
Well, yes, he has not hit well against Kyle Gibson, but he has been a Twins pest this year, as Eaton is. 22 hits now and 50 at-bats against the Twins pitching staffs. 2-seamer away. Cabrera right off the end of the bat. And Eaton with 2 outs. Of course, he goes off for the crack of the bat, and he scores. And the White Sox take a 4-3 lead.
Abreu with a pair of singles, 5 hits already in the series, and Eaton getting aboard, getting to second base. Remember, he took off on the ground ball and advanced into scoring position, and for the second time a soft single to the outfield has scored him from second base. Abreu takes ball 1.
Now you have to be careful here. You have first base open.
One and 0. And a strike at the knees.
See, Suzuki sat inside right there. If you're going to go in, you have to go in hard. And you can see that Abreu, he sprays everywhere, left, center, and right. That is great hitting right there.
To right center, chased by Buxton, and a running catch on the edge of the warning track. Not sure there's another center fielder that could have caught up to that ball. Abreu smoked one, and Buxton tracked it down. do fans of the game. Seeing a lot of runs scored already, with the White Sox now leading 4-3. Byron Buxton will lead things off in the 5th, and he takes a fastball outside ball 1.
Well, how many times does a guy make a great catch and he bats first the next inning? That was an outstanding catch by Buxton.
And I think in our 22 years together, we've established it happens once every 9 times, right?
Yes, it does.
Buxton with another base hit. He's got 2 hits. And his speed is at first, and it almost took him to second base. An overthrow, and Abreu backing it up.
Well, that's what speed does right there. Abreu, you know, he had to hurry his throw because of Buxton's speed. Well, Buxton maybe off the end of the bat, but he pulled that ball right in the left field, and then it's off to the races for Buxton as he rounds first base. He's thinking maybe double. And Abreu gets over there quickly and then just airmails it. But Abreu right there backing it up at first base.
Polanco was picked off from first base in the 3rd inning. And Rodon just steps off and gets Buxton's uniform dirty.
Yeah, Buxton with 9 stolen bases in 10 attempts.
A healthy lead for Buxton.
I think I mentioned before there have been 10 stolen bases in 12 attempts this year with Rodon on the mound.
This is a good combination for the Twins. Buxton will draw some focus from Rodon, and Rodon is pitching to a guy where he needs all the focus he can get right now. Dozier takes a strike. Dozier clobbered a 3-run home run in the 3rd, and he right now is swinging it as well as anybody in the game.
Yeah, that's what made Ricky Henderson so tough when he got on first base, because whoever was up next, as a pitcher, you're thinking, I can't throw something slow here, because if he takes off, I've got no chance. So I got to throw everything hard.
And Dozier strokes a solid single to left.
So 2 straight fastballs, another fastball up.
And now Cabrera fumbles the ball. Dozier is safe at second. And again, perhaps Buxton's speed caused Cabrera to peak as he tried to field the ground ball.
Yeah, Cabrera will be charged with an error in left field, only his 2nd error of the year.
Well, let's see if he peaks here, because Buxton was not going to try for 3rd.
Well, another fastball right there. And Dozier hitting it sharply. Buxton seeing it, rounding second, and then saw the little bobble by Cabrera and hustles over to 3rd. And then Brian Dozier did a good job of sliding into second base. See, the ball came up on Cabrera. Sliding on the outfield side. He lost the bag for a second.
Yeah.
And then able to get that left hand back on the bag.
Here's Polanco. Liner to center. Eaton is there for the catch. And Eaton will throw toward home. And Dozier is out at 3rd. The ball cut off by Abreu. Buxton scores the tying run, but a line drive that ends up being a double play.
Yeah, not the best decision, I think, by Dozier right there, only because Eaton, it doesn't have the strongest arm, and his job is to get it to the infield. And he did exactly that. So you do this if you anticipate a throw home, but with Buxton, you can see Dozier thrown out at 3rd base for the 2nd out.
Twins contemplating a challenge, wondering whether Dozier's left hand might have reached the base before Saladino's tag, and the Twins say nope, play on.
Polanco will pick up an RBI and tie the game at 4 apiece with his 14th RBI of the year.
Just a snapshot, but isn't it nice to see Byron Buxton show how he can impact the baseball game? Now, the 3-run home run last night, that's not going to be the norm, but the great catch in the top of this 5th inning to keep it a 1-run inning for the White Sox. The single, gliding into second, but Cabrera didn't know that, so he peeked, bobbled the ball, and Buxton goes to 3rd. That's what the Twins hope to see a lot more of from Buxton in the immediate and long-term future.
And let's give Polanco some credit too, because, you know, he jumped on it and hit that ball for a sacrifice fly to score Buxton. So yeah, 2 youngsters right there that hopefully will be in the Twins' future, both contributed.
Now 3-1 to Plouffe with Sano on deck. Red Sox score a run. Could have had more in the top of the 5th. Maybe that'll be the story of the bottom of the inning as well. And Plouffe will take a walk, and Sano will have a chance with a man aboard.
And first walk for Rodon.
You see players wearing the yellow armbands, wristbands, all for childhood cancer awareness. And the wristbands over the uniform tops and warm-ups, and the ribbons on the players' uniforms, all across Major League Baseball. That is the cause for the yellow ribbons. Back to first. Plouffe's not going anywhere. I'm not sure why you would even throw over there, but they did, and Sano hopes that the extra work will start paying off in this at bat. Inside ball 1. Right off the end of the bat, Rodon has an easy play. Twins come back. Byron Buxton with a leadoff hit. He ends up scoring, and it's 4 apiece. Had a great impact in this game already. Our Sanford Health injury report. One of the key guys in the Royals center fielder has a left wrist injury. Not in the lineup tonight. He's missed the last couple games. And the Royals playing really good baseball right now, even though they've had so many key injuries. This just seems like a hiccup unless it turns out to be something more than that.
Ned Yost wanted to give him a couple of days off. They said that Kane is trying to play through it, but they had an off day on Monday, and they trying to give him some extra rest.
Big series between the Tigers and the Royals. It's 4-3 bottom of the 4th at Kauffman Stadium. Borno at the plate taking ball 1. Frazier will hit next. Fouled back 1-1.
Well, 84 pitches now, 52 strikes for Gibson. Has not walked anybody. Kind of talked about it in the open. His August month was not good because of a lot of walks. 17 walks in 34 innings pitched.
Well, there were 49 hits allowed in 34 innings too.
That's a lot of base running.
Ooh. 1-2. Pitches up. All right, now what do you make of the fact that Gibson has given up a .268 batting average to right-handers and a .332 to lefties?
Just Not good. You know, I mean, again, you know, he came into the ball game wanting to establish his fastball, but I really haven't seen that pitch right there consistently.
Morneau takes it for ball 3. Just off the corner, a leadoff walk.
And we talk about the no walks in the ball game, and there Gibson walks his first batter.
Soup.com trivia question: the all-time home run leader for a single season in White Sox history, Albert Bell. 49. How about that? Bell inducted in absentia into the Cleveland Indian Hall of Fame this year.
There's Frank Thomas. Jermaine Dye with 44.
Into short right.
That's trouble.
And Kepler with a diving catch. 1 away.
Boy, that looked to me like he had trouble all over one of those little dying quails, but Kepler came charging in and made a nice diving catch.
Well, we've seen the speed in the outfield, and next to Byron Buxton, Kepler isn't fast, but Kepler's got really good speed out there. The speed of the outfield has really come into play here in the last couple innings. Now Garcia, ground ball to third and a strikeout. Blocked by Suzuki. Garcia's bat starting to come around here in the final weeks of the season. Hacked foul. Well, the White Sox have been very patient after they picked up Garcia. They were waiting for him to turn the corner offensively and be a middle of the lineup guy, but now he's starting to come around, but as a 7th place hitter. 1-1 to third, and they'll get the lead runner, and that's it. Garcia reaching on a fielder's choice, and that'll bring up Narvaez. But first, the Twins flex plan gives you the flexibility to choose your games and your number of seats. You can choose in advance or even the day of the game. So don't plan, flex plan. Go to twinsbaseball.com/flex or call 800-33-TWINS to learn more. Omar Narvaez, the batter, a runner at first and 2 down.
Ryan O'Rourke getting loose in the bullpen.
A little bit low, ball 1. Gibson approaching 100 pitches. 93 pitches, 57 strikes. Just over 60%. And now ball 2. Sliced foul, 2-1.
Well, again, Gibson came into this ball game against the White Sox 8 career starts, 5-1, 1.80 ERA. Made the mistake to Frazier with that high slider. A 2-run home run.
That's line foul. I'm just thinking about the catchers in the American League Central. And you've got maybe the best catcher in the league, maybe in all of baseball, in Salvador Perez, and then a huge drop off. McCann for Detroit, but he struggled this year. He's been hurt a little bit. The White Sox don't have a notable catcher. The Twins don't. The Indians don't. Gomes is hurt. They hope to get him back in a couple of weeks, but he wasn't hitting when he was playing.
Well, they say, you know, if you're a catcher in high school or college and you get a chance to be drafted. That might be the quickest way to get to the big leagues if you're good.
2-2 to Narvaez. A base hit to right field. Garcia will hold up at second. And now the number 9 batter, Carlos Sanchez, will hit with 2 men aboard. Sanchez with a couple of doubles last night, but 0 for 2 tonight. And Ryan O'Rourke warming up for Adam Eaton in case the inning gets beyond this at bat. Changeup, swing and a miss.
Remember Sanchez a couple years ago, they were really hoping that he would be their everyday second baseman, but offensively just has not been able to hit at this level. Last year he played 120 ball games, hit only 224. More of a utility type player now.
1 strike. Up high. Gibson, whether he knows it or not, I think can go after Sanchez here with everything he's got, because I don't think he's going to be pitching to anybody else, whether it be later this inning or in the 7th. I'm guessing that's something in your career you never
thought of. No.
Well, but it never occurred to you, did it?
No.
This is my last batter. There necessarily was a last batter, but of the games you didn't complete. But he knows this, doesn't he? He knows he's got to get Sanchez.
Whatever's left in the tank, you throw it right here.
Right. To left field, and Schaefer got burned, and it goes over his head and into the seats. A ground rule double. Schaefer froze for a second, and Sanchez has his 3rd double of the series, and the White Sox have the lead.
Well, again, you can look at Sanchez. Yeah, maybe he lost the flight of the ball right off the get-go, but that ball was right down the heart of the plate. It's almost like you're hoping that he hits it at somebody. And Sanchez, who picked up 2 doubles last night, adding another double here. Look at the location. Too much of the plate, and Sanchez, to his credit, took it the other way.
I don't know that.
I don't think that ball, you know, you play him in. He's not known for his power.
He took 1 step in, but I think it would have gone over his head even if he'd broken back on the ball. And a disappointing outing again for Gibson. 5 earned runs so far with 5 2/3 innings pitched. Continues for Twins fans. The enigma continues, trying to figure out what's in there and why the Twins and Gibson can't get it out of him.
Again, his 93rd start, there's either good or there's bad, and there's hardly anything in between.
Had to come out for Eaton because Eaton's got 3 hits against him.
You know, Eaton again, his first ball hit, you know, first single up the middle, next one line drive to left field, and then the third one he pulled into right field. So he's utilized the whole field here so far in his first 3 at-bats.
Suddenly a very big at-bat with Eaton bunting it in the air to the screen. 1 strike.
Yeah, Ryan O'Rourke coming in, making his 14th relief appearance.
Make any difference. In fact, Eaton actually hits left-handers better than right-handers. But he tried to bunt with runners at second and third and 2 down.
Rourke with a fastball, slider, which he throws a lot. There's a slider right there that Eaton swings through.
0-2.
They've been working on a split finger too with Eddie Guardado. Threw it a lot, I thought, again in Cleveland in the 3 innings he pitched well.
And O'Rourke does the job, strikes out Eaton on 3 pitches, but the White Sox get a big hit from their 8th place hitter and a bigger hit from their 9th place hitter. Each team has had a lead. Here's the Grand Casino story of the game.
Yeah, White Sox had the 1-0 lead thanks to Brian Dozier's 33rd home run. The Twins had a 3-1 lead, but the White Sox come right back. Todd Frazier tying the game in the 4th with a 2-run home run to straightaway center off of Kyle Gibson.
I didn't notice that the first time when he got to third base. He was already looking for Robert Ventura.
And we just saw Sanchez hit that RBI double. Yeah, that was great.
Now Rodon handed another 1-run lead. Eduardo Escobar will lead things off, and he's taken ball 1. And now he swings and fouls strike 1. Escobar, Kepler, and Suzuki. White Sox took the lead in the top of the 5th, and the Twins tied it right away after Buxton's leadoff single. Swing and a foul. 1-2.
Now Rodon's pitch count still good at 64.
And Escobar swings and misses a strikeout to start the 6th.
Rodon picking up his 4th strikeout.
The timeless moment brought to you by Coors Banquet. On this day in 1999, Cal Ripken Jr. becomes the 29th player with 400 career home runs in Baltimore's 11-6 win over Tampa Bay. Finished his Hall of Fame career with 431 home runs. Kepler takes ball 1. A fly to left and a pop to first for Kepler. Driven to center. Eaton going back. 2 away.
Now Kepler gave it a ride, but to the deepest part of the field.
And that'll bring up Suzuki. Suzuki 1 for 2 against Rodon. So Gibson have to leave the game in part because of the pitch count. Then you look at Rodon's and he hasn't even thrown his 70th pitch yet.
Right.
Fly to right. Coming in is Garcia. And a very quick bottom of the 6th for Rodon. And the White Sox lead by 1. Pat Light comes out of the Twins pen to pitch to the White Sox in the 7th inning.
Yeah, Light making his 8th appearance overall, but it is his 6th as a Minnesota Twin. 5 relief appearances prior as a Twin, 5 1/3 innings, 5 walks, 6 strikeouts. He's given up 5 earned runs. Light coming over in a trade on August 1st. From the Boston Red Sox for Fernando Abad.
If you haven't seen Light pitch before, you'll see a pitch from the center field camera and you'll say, what in the world is that? It drops 1.5 to 2 feet at times. That's his split finger pitch. It is a difference maker if, and even Pat Light would tell you this, if he can throw his fastball for a strike, the Twins might have a weapon with Pat Light.
He made 2 appearances earlier this year for the Boston Red Sox, and they were not good.
First man he faces, Tyler Saladino, lines one into right field. He tried to throw the fastball for a strike. Saladino's waiting for it, and he lines a single. Abad, by the way, not pitching particularly well for the Red Sox. Oh, let's be honest, he's pitching poorly for them. 10 innings, 11 hits, 7 earned runs, a home run, 7 walks, and 11 strikeouts. So the Twins giving up Abad, who pitched very well for them, but Abad hasn't done much of anything for the Red Sox. That's good.
Well, you know one thing Abad did here, he threw strikes.
Yeah.
He didn't walk a lot again.
7 walks and a lot of hits and some ugliness from Abad. Here is Melky Cabrera. And first pitch fastball for a strike. All right, so now he's gotten ahead, and the split finger pitch that he loves to throw comes into play here. And he threw one in Cleveland. That one lined to left, another fastball up. And he's given up 2 hits here on the fastball. First and second, nobody out.
And Melky Cabrera, who came into the ballgame just 1 for 21 off of Kyle Gibson, got that base hit to score the run in the 5th. And now somebody new out there. It continues to punish the Twins pitching staff.
Here is Abreu. Light came to the Twins with the reputation of throwing upper 90s, even 100 miles per hour. We haven't seen anything close to that. But of course, what the Twins want is not so much velocity, but throw it however hard you can to get it over the plate. Quick trip to the mound by Kurt Suzuki.
Well, you could throw 100 miles an hour. You could throw 97, maybe 96 like those were. But if they're belt high, major league hitters will hit you.
All right, now that looks like a breaking ball, but it's not. It's his splitter. And there's a tremendous amount of break, as you can tell. Light's a pretty big guy. He's got big hands and can really get a lot of break on that splitter. And there it is again, throwing it for a strike. Started to say he threw it in Cleveland, and I had to go up to him the next day. I said, that can't be a splitter. He goes, yeah. And the one I referenced with him was one that broke straight down about 2 feet. Swing and a miss. Abreu. Pitch that even Suzuki couldn't block.
Yeah, that splitter. It landed about 4 feet in front of home plate.
So now second and third, nobody out.
Second wild pitch for Light. Look, we'll see where this ball lands. Caromed off the glove of Suzuki.
And Light enters a game, and real quickly the White Sox are threatening to break it open a bit here. Second and third, nobody out. The Twins will bring the infield in. One and two.
Thinking strikeout right here.
And a looper to right. Kepler comes in, makes a nice catch, just a bluff from Saladino. Kepler again with a nice finishing kick there on that little flare to right, one down.
They got a good jump right there and threw it back in as quick as he could on the run. And short hop Plouffe, but Saladino stays at third base.
This week on Vikings Beyond the Gridiron, take in the first ever football game at US Bank Stadium. And see how the Vikings made it a practice to remember for a group of high school football players and learn about the tense time of cut down day in the NFL. Vikings Beyond the Gridiron is tomorrow at 4 p.m. only on Fox Sports North. Morneau will be walked to fill the bases, which is a bit of a risk here because Light's history is one of a pitcher who has a hard time throwing strikes. So they're going to put his feet to the fire here by having him pitch to Frazier with the bases loaded.
And Dick, this is what September's all about for the Minnesota Twins. Find out what you have. Okay, you're going to walk intentionally Justin Morneau. Now it's up to Pat Light to find a way to work out of this. He put himself into it. Now see if he can work out of it.
And these intentional pass pitches seem to be more of an adventure than they should be.
Tell you what, they come a little bit closer. Justin may reach out there and hit it to left.
Neil Allen to the mound, not the manager, so we won't have a pitching change here. But Neil Allen has asked Kurt Suzuki to join the discussion. And yeah, this is a big moment here for Pat Light. New organization, a fresh start. And he's found himself, partly his own doing, of course, in a game-breaking situation with one out.
Well, he was Boston's #1 pick back in 2012.
The batter will be Todd Frazier. Frazier can be struck out, but Light has had a hard time with Alex Wimmers getting loose in a hurry. Light's had a hard time getting swings and misses with his fastball.
But on the season, 8 innings pitched between the Twins and Boston, 8 strikeouts. So he needs one of those strikeouts right here, or something hit hard on the ground.
And there's a splitter for a strike. Light does have a breaking ball, but he very rarely uses it. He's not going to use it here.
And his splitter is almost like a hard knuckleball.
Yeah.
Look at the movement. Look at Suzuki, how he tried to catch that.
Suzuki caught it but it sounded wet, like he caught it in the webbing of the glove.
That looked like Tolley trying to catch Dickey's knuckleball.
1-1 to Frazier. And it's been all splitters. He threw fastballs early in this inning. They both got hit for base hits. And just about everything he's thrown after that has been the splitter.
And Frazier will strike out a lot, 134 times in 483 at-bats.
One and two. Two down. Frazier swings and misses, strikes out on yet another splitter.
That is a big strikeout right there for Pat Light. Now your job is not done. We'll do a little pitch by pitch to Frazier. Well, it's a splitter. You can see getting over for strike one. He missed with this one inside, so he did a great job of getting it in his glove. Two more good splitters that went straight down and picks up the strikeout.
Tell you what, if Light gets out of this inning, he needs to give Kurt Suzuki a Rolex watch or something. Because Suzuki's had some really tough pitches to block. 1-0. He drops it over for a strike. A split finger pitch is one that typically starts in the strike zone and drops out. But we've seen Light throw it for a called strike. Two and one. Another splitter.
Pat Light has been on the Twins' radar because he was drafted by the Twins back in 2009 by the Twins, 28th round that year, but he decided to go to college and then became Boston's one of their #1 picks. There's that split finger. Now he'll change it in the glove to a good fastball down.
Yeah, 94 at the knees. That bottle that one and mix it in every once in a while.
See him set it up right there. Shades of Jack Morris.
2-2.
And he's going to keep it the same.
And Garcia got a piece of it. Well, the young man trying to pitch himself out of a jam here in the 7th. Be a lot of hoots and hollers in the Twins dugout if he can get him.
And this is where you want something to happen right here. 2-2. You don't want to go 3-2, then the base runners will be taken off.
2-2 to Garcia. Got him. And a big moment for Pat Light, filling the bases, but then striking out Frazier and Garcia to leave the bases full. Of baseball brought to you by T-Mobile. Carlos Carrasco with a good one tonight. It's been kind of a flip of the coin for him lately, but he had a good one tonight. John Lester almost threw a no-hitter. He took a no-hitter into the 7th inning. Manny Machado just keeps hitting them. 33 home runs and now 300 career runs batted in.
How about those Cubs? What a year they are having. 87 wins now for the Chicago Cubs.
Pat Light gave up a couple of base hits, but the Twins really did put his feet to the fire with the intentional walk, and he got a couple of veteran hitters to strike out. Logan Schaefer will lead off the 7th.
He did a great job of those 2 strikeouts of Frazier and Garcia to get out of that inning.
Schaefer, Buxton, and Dozier facing Rodon, who got through the 6th inning with just 7 pitches thrown. Schaefer takes low, 1-1.
You see the pitch count now at 70 for Carlos Rodon.
Out in front. Hit a couple of guys early, but he's only walked 1 man. The Twins have bunched their hits together to do their scoring. Back-to-back hits in the 5th, scored a run. And 4 straight hits, scored 3 runs in the 3rd. 1-2 to Schaefer, who started the 3-run 3rd with a double to left center field. Big pop-up right side. And Abreu makes the catch. 1 down. Schaefer took a spill between 1st and 2nd. Thursday, September 15th is Yoga Night at Target Field, presented by Mayo Clinic. The special ticket package includes an exclusive Twins branded yoga mat, game ticket for the Mariners series September 23rd to the 25th, and a donation to the Twins Community Fund. You can join your fellow yogis for an evening in the outfield for this hour-long yoga class. For more info and to purchase tickets, visit twinsbaseball.com/yoga.
Look at the little fall right there, Schaefer.
Boom.
Sniper got him. Got to get smaller shoes.
Buxton now in an 0-2 count.
Good swing right there by Buxton.
2 singles, 2 runs scored. And a marvelous catch in the right center field gap. Buxton was behind 0-2 and worked the count a little bit before he hit his 3-run home run last night. Inside 1-2. Since the double play that drove in the tying run in the 5th inning, Polanco's line drive, Buxton scored, Dozier thrown out at 3rd. Twins don't have a hit. Chopper, gonna be tough play. And Buxton by a step. Margin for error even on a 2-hopper like that.
Sanchez had to come in, played a little short hop, and made a quick throw. So the speed, yes, it makes infielders do this. Charge it on the run, put something extra on it, and Sanchez able to make the play. Nice defensive play by Sanchez.
Dozier continues to hit the ball well against Rodon. He got a home run and a double last time he faced him, and tonight a home run with 2 men on and a single. That drifts outside.
I mean, very good for Rodon. Look at it, 15 in the 3rd inning. That's the most he has needed to get 3 outs.
15 in the inning, but he faced 6 batters.
Yeah, 3 runs in the 3rd inning thanks to Dozier's 3-run home run, and then the Twins scored an unearned run off of them in the 5th.
Whimmers and Presley warming up. 2-0 to Dozier. And a ball hit to left. Fairly deep, but Cabrera has it measured, makes the catch, and it's another quick 1-2-3 inning for Carlos Rodon.
In Mall of America studio with this update. Twins and the White Sox over at Target Field tonight. Same two teams tomorrow in the third game of the 4-game series. Twins Live gets it started at 5:30. Join Tom Hanneman and Jack Morris as they get you ready for first pitch. It all starts tomorrow night here on Fox Sports North at 5:30.
Twins way behind in the season series. Last night's win ended a losing streak. Twins would like to build a winning streak. We'll see if the Twins can come back and make it 2 in a row here tonight. Pat Light done after facing 6 batters, leaving the bases full in the 7th, and now Alex Wimmers.
Yeah, Wimmers making just his 4th major league appearance, his first here at Target Field. He made his major league debut in Toronto, a couple outings there, and then his last time he pitched was Tuesday in Cleveland. Ended up getting a loss in that 5-4 loss to the Indians on Tuesday night.
Narvaez, Sanchez in the 8th. Pitches up. Ball 1. Out in front of the changeup.
He's got a very good changeup.
Had one in college, and he's had it all along through his professional career. It's just taken him longer than anybody wanted for him to get up here.
Yeah, former #1 pick.
On strikes presented by Carrier.
By the Twins.
1-1. Now a called strike.
He went through that Tommy John surgery, missed a couple of years with that.
Changeup lifted foul.
Yeah, Wimmers 27 years old. I mentioned Twins #1 pick in 2010 out of Ohio State. Went to Moeller High School out of Cincinnati. Pretty good baseball school right there.
1-2. And he got a piece of a breaking ball.
Ken Griffey Jr. went to that school. Barry Larkin. Buddy Bell, Pat Tabler.
2 Hall of Famers and a guy who I always thought should have got more Hall of Fame consideration. Buddy Bell.
Buddy Bell, yeah.
2-2.
Great third baseman. And Pat Tabler, nobody hit better than him with bases loaded.
2-2 now to Narvaez. Sanchez will follow. Just slashed to left and a base hit. Another leadoff single for the White Sox. They've had their leadoff man on 5 times here tonight.
That's a nice piece of hitting right there by Narvaez. Just ball away, just took it the other way for his second hit.
And now Wimmers will have to try to pitch around a leadoff hit. He'll face Carlos Sanchez.
He's had 1 double play turned behind him in his first 3 major league relief appearances. To watch for the bunt here.
Escobar in on the grass at third. The pitch fouled out of Suzuki's mitt.
Nice grab by home plate umpire Dana Demuth. Ball landed right in his hand.
There's the bunt, and a good one. Wimmers has got to hurry, and he shoots it past Plouffe, and the ball caroms into short right field. Runners will be held. Sanchez runs well. It's one of the few things he does well. And he put the ball down on the ground, and Wimmers, I think, looked up and was surprised at how close Sanchez was to the bag.
A little slow getting there. You see that recoil that he had, and then he throws the ball through Trevor Plouffe. You can see he doesn't have a very good grip on that baseball. Almost threw him a sinker. And Trevor just kind of missed. It'll be an error on Wimmers. Puts runners at second and third. Nobody out.
I think you got to give Sanchez a hit too, don't you?
Yeah, I would think so.
And now Wimmers will find himself in the same situation Light found himself in Knight's case, there was 1 out when the Twins issued an intentional walk. Eaton intentionally passed here to fill the bases with nobody out. The White Sox have been retired in order only once. That was back in the 2nd inning. And innings 4 through 8 have been just a mess of base runners, runs scored. 5 men batted in the 4th, 5 men batted in the 5th, 6 men in the 6th, 6 in the 7th, and now 3 men have batted. Saladino comes up with the bases loaded.
The infield in, looking to cut off the run at home if it's hit sharply.
Fouled away, 1 strike. Where Light was able to extricate himself from a tough inning. I don't know that Wimmers, I guess his strikeout pitch would be the changeup, not the splitter, but he needs to get to 2 strikes, preferably without the batter having seen the changeup.
He started him off with a look like a breaking ball. Saladino fouled off.
Fastball off the plate. 1-1. Deep to left, running to the corner is Schaefer. Make the catch, a run will score, and the throw coming on target to third base. A sacrifice fly, and the White Sox now lead by 2.
Saladino picking up an RBI, his 33rd of the year, as Narvaez scores for the first time.
And now Melky Cabrera. Cabrera with 2 more hits tonight, driving in 1 against Kyle Gibson in the 5th. Wimmers, who's given up a run, will try to bear down and keep this a 6-4 game. Backhanded by Suzuki. I don't want to pretend I'm Paul Molitor, but I just about guarantee you that Juan Centeno is going to catch tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, you know, those things sometimes go unnoticed too. How many times a catcher is able to do that? What Suzuki just did.
Swing and a miss.
Good change up right there.
Well, Cabrera might hit into a double play. Well, that wouldn't have happened if Suzuki hadn't been able to dig a pitch out of the dirt. There have been, again, many of those here tonight, particularly with Light on the mound. Low, and it's 2-1. Foul, 2-2. Wimmers, again, strikeout pitch would appear to be his changeup. And a well-thrown changeup can also get a ground ball hit at somebody. Back to the pitcher, and Wimmers looks at second after juggling it momentarily. Second and third, 2 down.
Yeah, good decision right there by Wimmers. This copyrighted telecast presented by the authority of the Minnesota Twins. It may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. Any accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Minnesota Twins, LLC.
Abreu with 5 hits. He was robbed of a hit by Buxton ending the 5th inning. A little flare to right field his last time up. And it's just a testament to how productive a hitter can be who does not try to pull the ball. Now he may pull it down the line 420 feet here, but He's got 5 hits, and even when he's made outs and made bids for hits, they've gone up the middle of the field and to right center.
And Sano's got to keep an eye on how Abreu hits, how Miguel Cabrera hits, those type of power hitters.
There's a swing and a miss at a breaking ball and another save by Suzuki. It was really amazing to me last night because he hit 3 line drives last night, including the home run.
That's the curveball right there. Not a very pretty swing, but he could be setting you up too. If you throw another curveball, he might be sitting on it.
I think you want to throw too many where he threw the last one. It might lead to a run score. 2 strikes. Very high. But Abreu last night hit 3 bullets to right center field. One of them cleared the fence by plenty, and they were all on the inner third of the plate.
Well, again, I mentioned Sano only because you watch and you learn from other guys that are kind of built like you and strong like you. But Cabrera's all, I mean, look at this. Look where that pitch was.
And it'll score 2 runs. Abreu with a 1-2 count just got his hands in, put the barrel of the bat on it, and 2 runs come in.
I'm telling you, you know what? Hitters can sometimes watch his pitch where it is. Remember the curveball he threw? He was kind of sitting on the curveball. He kind of like inside out golfed that ball right back up the middle.
Suzuki was prepared to block the pitch in the dirt.
Look at that. That's what happens when you make contact. Sometimes good things happen. And the White Sox take a 8-4 lead now.
Here's Morneau.
Cabrera driving in 3 of the 8 runs. I really believe he set him up on that ugly swing on the curveball. Cliff Johnson used to do that all the time, a former very good hitter in the big leagues. They'd set you up. They'd swing ugly at your curveball, and then you come back with it, and they're ready. They're jumping all over it.
2-0. And now 3-0. If you're Wimmers, you really can't second guess yourself. He threw a breaking ball that was over the inside corner, maybe that was going to be in the dirt, and the guy, I mean, his bat was almost vertical to the ground.
Well, if he's trying to backdoor that curveball, I think he was trying to throw it to where he threw it the first curveball, down and away.
Now Morneau draws a walk. Wimmers basically being given the same challenge that the Twins gave Light, but not faring as well. Light pitched a scoreless 7th, but there are 3 on the board and now 2 on base for Todd Frazier.
Well, Neil Allen going out, say take a deep breath, young man.
No, this is a trip to the mound that might have come anyway. Chagua getting loose. Wimmers, as you said, grew up in Cincinnati. So now he's facing Todd Frazier, who was Mr. Cincinnati for a long time. He was the Reds' best player. And now Frazier will hit against Wimmers, with Wimmers already having given up 3 runs. On an away ball 1. Frazier with a 2-run home run to center in the 4th inning that tied the game at 3.
Now, Wimmers this year started at AA, moved up to AAA. They put him in that closer's role in Rochester, and he responded well. 11 saves.
Rochester's season ended tonight with a loss, so we will expect some other players from the Red Wings to be here sometime soon. Swing and a miss. Frazier misses the fastball. Swing and a miss. And an off-speed pitch, 2-2.
Good change up there, down and away. pull the string right here.
Now a full count to Frazier with Garcia on deck. Frazier, the 8th man to bat this inning against Wimmers.
That allow Abreu and Morneau to take off on the pitch home.
Drilled to left, but it'll hook foul. Just finished a likely brief phone conversation with Eddie Guardado. Chagua getting loose. This will be the last guy that Wimmers faces, one would think. Foul back to the screen. Twin starter Kyle Gibson couldn't get through the 6th. Got the last out of the 6th. Light weaved his way through the 7th, but now 3 runs on the board and more trouble for Alex Wimmers. Wimmers challenging Frazier with another fastball.
You know, when Wimmers first signed with the Minnesota Twins, they put him in that starting rotation. They were hoping that he would be a future starter for the Twins, but then the elbow issue and the Tommy John surgery. Now strictly used out of the bullpen this year. 45 relief appearances in the minor leagues.
And Frazier walks. And now they're loaded up. And here comes Paul Molitor.
Yeah, 3rd walk of the inning. 1 was intentional to Eaton.
Disappointing outing for Wimmers. Was just a 1-run ball game when he came in, but 3 runs have scored, and there are 3 more out there. And the 9th man to bat, Avisail Garcia, will hit against JT Chagua.
Yeah, 38 pitches used by Wimmers.
Here comes Chagua with the bases loaded. And now JT Chagua will come in to try to get the last out of the 8th inning. The 9th man to bat this inning is Avisail Garcia.
And you look at the numbers right there. 10 1/3 innings, 9 walks, only 4 strikeouts by this hard-throwing right-hander, making his 12th major league appearance, his 2nd stint with the Twins. 16 hits allowed in the 10 1/3 innings, giving up 8 runs.
A .381 opponent batting average. And now the bases loaded, no margin for error, obviously. Garcia, the batter. First pitch to the right field corner, chased by Kepler, and out of play, 1 strike. We've seen Chagua hit 96, 97 miles per hour. Veterans on the bases for the White Sox. 1 strike to Garcia. 97. Garcia a little late, fouling it away, 0-2.
Chagua, 25 years old, signed by the Twins in 2012 out of Rice University. He, like Wimmer, started this season in Double-A, then advanced to Triple-A.
A breaking ball, but missed it inside. 1-2.
June 11th of this year made his major league debut against the Boston Red Sox.
And a breaking ball inside, a foul tip, a strikeout. The White Sox lead 3, but they also score 3.
Tonight, Chicago with an 8-4 lead right to the bottom of the 8th. Stay with us directly after this contest for Twins Live, presented by CenturyLink. We'll take a look at the relentless offense posted by the White Sox so far. 13 hits and those 8 runs. We'll take a look at Byron Buxton, who's done it in both spots. Out in the field, another amazing catch, and getting hot at the plate after being recalled from Rochester. We'll take you inside the clubhouse and hear from the manager, Paul Molitor. Guys, Twins had the offense cooking last night. They're going to need the offense to cook right now to get back in this one.
Well, thank you, Kevin. And yet you're looking, well, 4 runs every once in a while. 4 runs should be enough to win a ball game. And the Twins are on the board with 4, but they're 4 down. And now they face one of the better Chicago relievers, Nate Jones. Really good numbers across the board.
Yeah, opponents hitting just 195 against Nate Jones, making his 63rd relief appearance. Jones has a good fastball, very good curveball, and mixing a slider and a changeup, all 4 pitches in his 5th season with the White Sox.
Polanco, Plouffe, and Sano will bat. Twins would like to get some men on base in front of some power in the middle of the lineup. Outside, 1-1. Polanco 1 for 2. He was hit by a pitch in the first inning, then singled sharply in the 3rd, and then lined into a double play, but was given credit for a sacrifice fly. He hit a bullet to Eaton in the 5th. Pitch up, tried to turn on it. 1-2.
You see the 96-mile-an-hour fastball up in the strike zone. Carlos Rodon worked the first 7 innings, and quality start. That's 6 quality starts in a row for him. 4 runs, but only 3 earned runs.
1-2.
Watch Jones' delivery right here. He takes that ball out. Almost shows the hitter the baseball. And then kind of a short arm type of delivery toward home plate. Taking that ball out quickly. You see how he holds that ball across the seams.
White Sox had a guy years ago. He ended up winning a World Series with the Red Sox. Keith Folk, remember their closer. He did the same thing. I don't think he threw as hard as Jones, but he'd do the same thing. Take the ball out of the glove and then just kind of hold it so the hitter could see it and then throw it. 2-2. You know, one of the things, and I mean this as a compliment about Polanco, he gives the impression that he doesn't know or care who's pitching.
Yep.
His idea seems to be, look, at some point the guy's got to throw it over the plate, and when he does, I want to be ready for it. How it gets there, at what speed, I don't care.
A good swing right there on a breaking ball that just kind of hung right there. But he's, he's a switch hitter, not afraid to get right on top of that plate. Almost dares you to come in. See how close he is toward home plate. Almost standing on the line. Little open stance. His hands really over the plate.
Foul back. Of course, when you're an A ball and you, because of an emergency, get called up to the big leagues, and right away you slash a triple, and then a couple of at-bats later you get a double. I mean, that's got to do something for your confidence, right?
They did that in Texas, remember?
Battling Jones, and finally striking out.
Well, good changeup right there by Jones.
And that'll bring up Blue. Here's a look at Carlos Rodon.
Yeah, 79 pitches, 53 strikes. And as I mentioned, now 6 straight quality starts for Rodon.
One down and a Blue full bat. Down and away, ball 1. Outside corner. The White Sox closer's David Robertson, and he's had some struggles again this year. Twins would like to get 1 or 2 here, get Robertson in the game, get some guys on base. Just missing, and it's 2-1.
Yeah, Jones had the Tommy John surgery back in July of 2014, and then about a month before that had lower back surgery. Last year was kind of a rehab year for him.
Popped up. Vez puts it away. 2 down. Blue 0 for 3 with a walk. Twins fans, if you can't catch the games on TV, you can stream them live on your mobile device with the all-new Fox Sports Go app. Download the app, take Fox Sports North and Twins baseball, of course, with you wherever you go. 2 down, and now Sano. On the ground, couple of hops, picked up by Sanchez. And that takes care of Sano, and a 1-2-3-8 for Jones. give of the ninth inning. He'll face Narvaez, Sanchez, and Eaton, with the White Sox in front 8-4.
Chagua ended up striking out Garcia for the final out, as the White Sox sent 9 men to the plate in the 8th inning.
Narvaez with a couple of singles in his last 2 at-bats. Fouled away. 1 strike. Narvaez singled and scored last inning. Started the inning with a base hit.
Carlos, the kids love you. Say hi to the kids. Say hi to the kids, Carlos.
1-1. Hits for the White Sox. That one to the backstop.
Yeah, they picked up 15 hits last night.
Are you kidding me? Thank you, buddy. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Ray with another good night at the plate. Foul back 2-2. Twins did not get a good start from Kyle Gibson tonight. And you might have been with us last night when Irvin Santana struggled. Santiago will go tomorrow for the Twins against James Shields. A couple of veterans that are each struggling.
Santiago, kind of a homecoming for him. He signed with the White Sox. He's had some pretty good numbers against them, especially this year. 2-0. Has not allowed a run to the White Sox in those 2 starts.
Full count. Chagua doesn't want to have a long 9th inning like Wimmers had in the 8th. Fouled away. Dan Jennings, the only left-hander in the White Sox bullpen, and Michael Anoa. And a leadoff walk to start the 9th inning.
If we mentioned yet, Buddy Boshears is activated. He's in that bullpen now.
Paul Molitor said didn't think he wanted to use him. He pitched last night for Rochester. Didn't want to use him tonight. And again, Rochester's season has ended, so you would expect the Twins to call up at least a catcher. And John Ryan Murphy's been swinging it pretty good. I would guess he'd be the guy. Mitch Garver was promoted to AAA and had done pretty well for the Red Wings for a while, but I would guess Murphy would be the catcher. And then got to remember Tyler Duffy and Jose Barrios were sent down there a week or so ago. And
my opinion on that, they got to get those guys back up here to get there. If this is September for them, if they're in the plans, got to get them back
through the
up.
hole, a base hit for Sanchez.
But that's me.
First and second, nobody out. Back to the top of the order. Follow Twins Baseball live with the MLB.com at-bat app. You can customize at-bat to feature the Twins. Stay up to the moment at any moment with game day, live game video highlights, StatCast, news, and more. Plus, subscribe to at-bat Premium to get the MLB.TV game of the day, radio broadcasts, in-game highlights, enhanced game day features, and more. Blackout and other restrictions apply. Download MLB.com at-bat, the #1 app for live baseball on your phone and tablet. Here's Eaton, and he takes a strike. And Eaton, not convinced that was a strike, expresses that sentiment to Dana DeMuth. One and one. These are greater opportunities in September for the Chaguas, Lights, Wimmers of the world than they will get next February and March in spring training. These are major league hitters, and we all enjoy spring training, and I love going down there, but for most of the games, you know, for every David Ortiz you face, you're facing some guy who might be assigned to Double-A by the end of the month. So these are opportunities for Chargois to prove that A, he can throw strikes, and B, he can get big league hitters out. Foul back 2-2. And that's true whether you're a starter or a reliever.
I think more for the relievers, Dick, only because, you know, a lot of times you'll see, I mean, you'll see a closer maybe pitch the third or fourth inning in a spring training game.
Right.
You know, over then by fifth, sixth, seventh inning, there are Double-A, Triple-A players playing.
Fouled away. But here, let's go back to the seventh inning. Pat Light gave up a couple of hits, and he got a hitter, and the Twins ordered an intentional walk of Morneau. And you got Todd Frazier and Avisail Garcia coming up, and Light's got no choice but to try to get them out and try to keep a run from scoring in what was then a one-run ball game.
Right, he did a great job.
That's chopped down the line and past Plouffe. And a run will score. And Eaton gets another hit, his fourth of the ball game, just a ground ball. But Plouffe was playing him off the line, and it bounced almost over the bag.
Yeah, hit it right down that right field line. So Eaton picking up an RBI. It's a 9-4 ball game now. 47th run batted in for Eaton. A little slider right down that line, out of the reach of Plouffe into that right field corner. Kepler has to get it back in, but it's a double for Eaton, his 21st double of the year.
Well, the leadoff walk has already scored. Second and third, nobody out. Saladino at the plate. Six innings tonight out of 9. The White Sox have gotten a leadoff man on twice with leadoff walks. Breaking ball and strike one.
I think if you've been following the Twins all season long, you know what the main problem has been. It's that guy on the mound, whether it's a starter or a reliever.
And Chargois tests Plouffe's reach, and they got the out. One down.
Well, kind of a swinging bunt right here, Chargois. You barehand it like he did, and you flip it over to Plouffe. You'd like to hit him in the chest, but Plouffe right there has to reach up. And Sanchez at third base stays there.
One down, and now Cabrera infield in. Cabrera with a swing and a miss.
Good fastball, clocked at 97. Velocity is not an issue.
One and one. Be interested. I'll ask Neil Allen, Eddie Guardado about it. Just going back to Pat Light. I mean, he was advertised as someone who threw 98, 99, and 100. And we've seen, I think, top end 94. And I'm wondering whether when he was called up here, they had a conversation with him and said, hey, 98 all over the place isn't working. Let's try to tone it down a little bit and try to find some command and throw strikes with a fastball.
Well, he did a good job. I mean, he ran into trouble, put himself in trouble, but worked his way out of it.
There's a breaking ball for a called strike from Chargois.
See the breaking ball, just kind of a spinner. Suzuki frames it. Made it abuse, calls it a strike.
2-2. Line foul off the railing right in front of our precious camera and our even more precious cameraman.
Oh, that's David. Don't worry about it.
And up the middle, a base hit. Sanchez will score, Eaton will score, and now Chagua has given up 3 runs in the ninth.
And Cabrera picks up his 3rd hit, driving in his 2nd and 3rd runs of the ball game. So Eaton scoring for the 1st time. The 3rd time. Breaking ball down. Cabrera continues to punish the Twins.
In the inning, 3 hits and a walk, 1 out. And now Jose Abreu. 3 singles, 3 runs batted in, and there's strike 1. The average up to 294, and the way he's swinging it, it almost seems destined to be a 300 batting average for Abreu by season's end. 0-2. His last hit was a backbreaker. A 1-2 pitch. And Wimmers threw one down and in, and Abreu hit it before it hit the dirt and singled in 2 runs.
Wow, watch out.
They're taking aim at our camera people.
There they are.
Everybody all right? Wow.
But also some of theirs. Well, I got a smile.
There are people, they're just renting them tonight. 2 strikes. And on a breaking ball, Abreu strikes out, 2 down.
Chagua picking up his 2nd strikeout.
And now Justin Morneau.
Chasing a pitch out of the strike zone, that little breaking ball. See, I think that's what Wimmers tried to do to him before he got that hit. He wanted that breaking ball away at left in, and it was a great swing by Abreu last inning that picked up a couple of runs batted in.
Swing and a foul, 1 strike. Morneau's walked his last 3 times up. Fouled away, 2 strikes. You were wondering when things started to turn south for the Twins, and if you were to suggest to me that things started to turn south for the Twins when Morneau got kneed in the head in Toronto, I wouldn't put up much of an argument. Because since then the Twins have struggled. Morneau struggled, eventually was traded. That had absolutely no bearing on the pitching staff, which has been really bad over most of the last 6 years.
Wow. It's just good to see Justin back in uniform and playing.
It sure is.
He won the MVP here for the Twins in 2006. 4-time All-Star with the Twins. Then he went to Colorado, won a batting title.
2-2. And I think Dana DeMuth has had enough tonight. 3 more for the White Sox that they might not need. 11-4. The White Sox have poured it on with 3 in the 8th, 3 in the 9th. Of course, it was a one-run ball game until that time. Now Michael Lanoa, who will pitch to the Twins here in the 9th inning, will face Escobar, Kepler, and Suzuki.
Lanoa, 24 years old in his rookie season, making his 17th relief appearance.
And you see 14 walks in 19 2/3 innings. So we will see whether he can throw it over the plate and what the Twins will do with it if he does. 1 strike. Escobar 0 for 3. Kepler 0 for 3. Suzuki 1 for 3. Oh, 2.
Yeah, ugly 8th and 9th innings for the Twins. For the White Sox, they scored 6 runs. Between Wilmers and Chagua, they threw a total of 74 pitches to get 6 outs. Just a bit high.
1 and 2. The ugliness began in the 6th inning. Twins had a tie game at 4-4. Kyle Gibson walked Morneau and then had a tough time getting out of the inning. In fact, he never did. White Sox took the lead in the 6th, and it's just been a mess ever since. White Sox didn't score in the 7th, but they had the bases loaded. And now Escobar pokes a single to right field.
Escobar getting his first hit, and a first hit for the Twins since the 5th inning.
Time now for What's Next, brought to you by CenturyLink. Hector Santiago with an encouraging start his last time for the Twins, and James Shields has had a couple good ones, but most of the starts for Shields have been disappointing for the White Sox.
Yeah, coming over from the Padres where he was really struggling, and he's kind of carried that into the White Sox uniform.
Here's Kepler, hit the ball in the air 3 times. Did it pretty good his last time. He went to the track to haul it in center field. Ball 1. Fouled back. Setting up inside. Kepler fouls it off a leg. The grind continues for Kepler. And I don't mean that in a negative way, but the Twins giving him an opportunity this year. And he's earned it because he's produced, but getting an opportunity to play every day, play through the bad days as well as the good ones, the hot streaks as well as the slumps. He's going to end up with over 400 at bats, and he wasn't even here the first 2 months of the season.
Yeah, getting to play an extra month.
That's to left, and it's hanging in the air for Melky Cabrera. 1 away. So 4 fly balls off the bat of Kepler tonight, and that'll bring up Suzuki.
You see, Twins pitchers have thrown 199 pitches.
Pretty good chance they won't throw 200 tonight, though, don't you think? It has not been easy for that man to watch. Chagua struggled, Wimmer struggled, but beyond that, Kyle Gibson was done after 5 2/3 innings. And the 4 runs early against Carlos Rodon, and it looked like it was going to be an entertaining, close ball game. Seven unanswered runs, and that might be the end of it there. Disappointing ball game for the Twins tonight. A disappointing start for Kyle Gibson.
Yeah, I think, you know, we wanted Kyle Gibson. He himself said he wanted to attack the strike zone, and I didn't see that tonight. So, yeah, another poor outing for Gibson and a tough loss, ugly loss for the Twins.
Tom Hanneman, the Twins will try to bounce back and get back in the win column tomorrow in Game 3.
Dick, a wide world of sports starts this series for the Twins, who in 24 hours experienced both the thrill of victory and the agony of defeat. Up next on Twins Live, presented by CenturyLink, we'll look at all aspects of the White Sox 11-4 win.